Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me know if you can hear me. Great. Great. Let me start to closing this and open the presentation. Before we start, I did add a question to the chat, and I would like for people, if they add experience, to if they want to share it in the chat about what is your experience with coding interviews. If you had coding interviews so far, okay, none, okay. Think that there might be working at it for 20 plus years. There might be some similarities. One interview, one take home assignment. Okay, great. I see. So can everyone see the PowerPoint? Let me know. Okay, self-study. For the self-study, do you have a way you practice or people that you practice with? So the question is, what is your experience with coding interviews? Mock interviews, okay. Okay. So welcome today for day three of Become Job Ready and Web Development. Today we will talk about the technical interviews, and we will talk about what it is, the code interviews, what interviewers are looking for, and go into data structure and algorithm and mention about the common ones and also how to prepare for it and different tips that I can give for when you actually go into the coding interview. As you know, I've been as the beginning of the week from Monday, Tuesday, and today is Wednesday, half of the bootcamp. My name is Eli, and I'm a front-end engineer, web development educator, and also a mentor helping other developers to launch their career by helping them to know what it's expecting and how the process is, especially for people that just starting and it's their first time and don't know anything about it. So I previously worked at IBM for about 5 years, and I also work as a teacher assistant at Unitech Prep, where I help college students prepare and learn about web development and prepare for their first job after college. So, as a reminder, if you have been finding that you're learning a lot and finding the bootcamp valuable, I have opportunity to work with me uh, and help you with the preparation for the job or learning about web development, getting feedback, getting guidance, and if you're working on a project, also getting feedback and how you can improve it. So, and if you have any particular goals that is specific and related to web development, you have the opportunity to work with me for 8 weeks. And for this week only, during the booking week, until Monday, we have a discount for the people that actually that is in the bootcamp. So if you want to know more or want to talk more about that possibility of working with me and how it can help you, in your own journey. I also have a calendar available where we can discuss and talk about that for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's free that we can discuss more about how I can be a help for you. So let's start with the coding interviews. Coding interview, a lot of the time people, when we go about coding interview, especially the lead code question, the first instinct, the first thing that when we prepare for and people think about is the solving the problem, getting the best solution, the optimal solution for the problem, and focus on solving the leak code problem. This is part of it, and it's not necessarily that you need to have the most optimal. If you can, it's good, but there's different part of the coding interviews. The coding interviews is a interview that tests to see what is your technical skill, what you can do, and can you code a way that is good, that is clear, that is efficient, that people can read and understand? Can you solve a problem? And how do you communicate and collaborate with other people? So those are main factor when it go to coding interviews. It's not because it's a coding interview that you should forget about the interviewing part. It's still an interview. That means everything about like communicating, collaborating with others, showing your worth is still there. And it's just on top of that, they gonna see try to see what is your technical skills and what is your problem solving ability. And way that company usually do technical test your technical ability, there's coding assessment. The coding assessment usually happen before the coding interview, either before they do a phone screen or most of the time after they do a phone screening, and they send you a coding assessment. And if you pass it, you you will most likely go to the coding interviews. The coding assessment, it there's a lot of different things depending on what they doing. It may also do data structure algorithm, or it may be language based specific. When I say language based specific, is mean if you are doing a coding assessment for JavaScript, gonna have question related to JavaScript. If you are doing one for React, it's gonna have question related to React. So, or it might be a feature building. So either you create a specific feature or a specific a small application, something to do quickly in 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. They usually give that doesn't give that much time in terms of coding assessment. It's like you have a few days to do it, but it's better to do it earlier as possible. And when you start doing it, you have about 90 minutes to 2 hours to finish it in one sitting. So that's usually is the coding assessment. And also another way they test your technical ability, which is mentioned in the chat, is take home. And that's depend on the company. There's some take home assignment, I think less take home assignment, but that's depend on the company. Some company give you a take home assignment, which is similar to the coding assessment, but is most likely you have to create a feature or solving a certain problem that is similar to what they do in the company, and you have more time to work on it, go back and forth. It's not in one sitting. Now, when it after the coding assessment, and if you pass the coding assessment, you gonna get to the coding interview. And the coding interview that might be those same three different style of interviews. There's the data structure and algorithm interviews. That's when they talk about lead code style question. There's similarly language-based interviews. That is an interview specifically to that language, either JavaScript, React. If you someone in backend and you using Python, Java, so it will be specific to that language. And the same thing, there's a feature building or feature creation interviews is when they're gonna interview with you and you're gonna build something together. Like for example, you might have to, let's say there's a web development interview where they give you just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And they might ask you a question to build something like a slideshow. This is a specific feature that you're going to work with the interviewer to have it done and build it. And a lot of time those feature creation are level by level. So in the sense that a few there's smaller thing that can be done. For level one is something small. For level two is adding to it until like the last level, maybe three or four, is having a more complex or having the complete features. Is there any question in the coding interview definition and the different type of interviewing interviews? Okay, if there's no question, so let's go with what interviewers are looking for. As in most interviews, as when looking at interviewers, there's a few things they are looking for, and I'm glad that I did add a few experience being interviewers also for a interviewer for a specific role in an organization, and usually is there's a few things. Their technical ability. So if they are interviewing for like a web development role or front-end engineer role, yes, they're gonna see if you can code. So that's for sure. They're gonna see if you can, they're gonna test if you can code. But it's not in the point of like I can solve all of lead code to the optimal solution. It's not to that point. It's to the point of you can code. The way you code also is clear. I can see what you're doing. I can understand what you're doing. And when it comes to coding, there's a few things about like the name of the function or variable you use, which is clear. I understand what it's used for. So in that way that when I'm reading your code, I can see and understand what you're using it for and what those each step are for. So it is clear in that sense. And in terms of quality of code, in terms of how efficient it is. Now the other part is how you solve problems. Because the let's say for lead code is is one of the way that they try to test those ability, how you go about solving problems. And in solving problems, there's different things that is involved in terms of like, do you understand the problems? In terms of also how do you go about looking or researching or know or putting together different ideas, different solution? How do you go about choosing the best solution and why? Those are all about the step and process of solving problems and how you communicate the way you think, the way you approach solving something, how you collaborate with the other people and the interviewers if they give you feedback or if they give you if they asking question or if they tell you something. how do you respond to feedback? So in a way, they both looking for your technical skills, how your technical ability and how you solve problems, and also how you work with someone else. And think about it as the interviewer, they thinking that if I was working with you, will I be happy or will I be okay to work with you? So that's one of the things they're looking at is like be seeing you working with them. So that's kind of like with that same mindset, you have to think about how you gonna present yourself to already show that you someone that is valuable and also can work with others. So before I go with data structure and the definition of data structure and algorithm, is there any question? Okay. So I mentioned different type of interviews. There's the uh language specific, there's the feature specific, but we're gonna focus on data structure and algorithm interviews. The reason we're gonna focus on that is both language and feature specific interviews is easier when you already know the language, the fundamentals of the language that you're working with, and you're already practicing and building with the language. So, for example, if you're learning JavaScript and you've been creating functions, creating different features or application with JavaScript, it it easier to just when you're doing the language basically talking about your experience with the language, talking about like the specific question, and that's why it you need to either if you know the fundamentals is good. If you don't know, refresh and look again at the fundamentals because there's some specific question they might ask that is if you don't remember the fundamentals, you might not be able to answer it. But it is like as you've been working with the language, been practicing and been focused on your fundamentals, it's easier to do those language-based interviews and do those feature interviews. And as you're doing the feature interviews, you will see that as you build in and create, that's one of the reasons that I encourage to practice and build as you're building, you will see that it's easier and faster to quickly build a specific feature during the interviews. But the other thing to work on during that is the ability to communicate what you're doing. So because while you're doing it, it's not just head down, do it, but you have also to explain what you're doing, why are you doing it that way, why this way it might be better for than another way for a specific situation. So when you practice for interviews, even by yourself, always talk and speak what you're thinking about. So that's the way when you practice for interview, that's the way you practice, not just think quietly and come up with the solution, but always talk out what you're thinking about. So that way it's easier for you when you're in an interview to also explain and talk about that solution, about the process you're going through, because that's that's a way that they're gonna go and analyze what you're doing is by what the process, and also nobody knows what is in your head. So they're not gonna be able to guess what is in your head. So you have to talk and express and communicate. So now let's focus about data structure and algorithm. Data structure, as I mentioned yesterday, as part of web development, and when we were talking about JavaScript. It is a way to organize, store, and manage data so it can be used efficiently. So by efficiently, there's a lot of time. One of the things that is considered as efficient, it's easy to do and it's fast in terms of that way. But then, so, and as a example, when we go over yesterday, we talk about array for JavaScript, we talk about set, we talk about map. And data structure, there are a lot of other in those interviews that have a lot of other data structure that also exist that we're gonna go over. But for now, I will start with the definition of data structure and algorithm, and then I will go over the common data structure and the common algorithm that they have in interviews. So is there any question about what is a data structure? So there's no question for algorithm. What is an algorithm? So an algorithm is a set of instructions, step by step, of instruction that solve a specific problem in a finite amount of time and space. Usually, the simplest way to think about algorithm is, let's say we have a recipe. So when you have a recipe, you have a set of instruction on what to do and how to cook this particular meal. And also, when you think about what you do every day, if you start to think about what you do every day, you're gonna realize it's a step-by-step process that you already have in your mind that is second nature that you don't even think about it anymore. So that's why you'll be surprised at how many algorithm or how many different way do uh people go about doing bread and peanut butter. And if you ask someone how they do it, that will force them to think about it and give a set of instruction. That's basically what is an algorithm. Is basically a set of instruction. In order to solve that problem, we need to do this, and this. And to to measure an algorithm, so that's where we're talking about having optimal solution. To measure how good or how bad is an algorithm, there's two things that we measure. There's time complexity and there's space complexity. Time complexity is a estimation of how much time the algorithm will take to finish, to complete. Space complexity is how much space or memory it will take when it's running, when you're running the algorithm, when it's happening. And for those two measure, we use what we call big O notation. Big O notation, the way writing is a O, and there's a parenthesis between them. So we can have example. Let me see if uh, let me put it on the charts from a few example of O notation. So there's a O and there's like ON and O1. So uh ON square, I won't be able to put the answer, but I'll put ON and O1. So that's why I call it a big O notation is O and parentheses and the notation between it. And that's look almost like a function notation in math, but that's it. So the big O notation is a way that we use to express either time or space complexity, and it telling us how the algorithm perform or work as they're changed. And by change, it can be a amount of time, it can be a amount of input. So when you say input, when you have a function and you're passing something, so because most of algorithm is you give it something, you give it an input, and it's gonna give you back an output when it's done the result. So as you give it more input, how does the time and space change? That's kind of what is trying to do. So that's where there's like a different notation where we have when if it doesn't matter when you give the as the amount input that you give is bigger and it doesn't matter, it's gonna uh finish in almost the same amount of time. That's where we say it is it is constant time, and we use the notation O of one. When as the input grow and the time it take grow, we can say that the depend on if it's linear, like 1 to 1, we can say O of n. If it's kind of like more than that, either double or something like that, it might be O of n square or of n, depend on the complexity. So that's why we're using a big on notation for giving an estimation what about what is estimation of how much time and how much space. And as I say, time complexity is for how much time and space complexity is for how much memory. Is there any question for the definition for algorithm? So let me look for a specific link that I of an article that I have that go over the time complexity, big and space complexity. The reason I will do that is because uh to give that estimation is based on the code that you read in and each line, and there might be different way to do the calculation of that. Give me few minutes, a few seconds, and I'm gonna give you that link. And also, there's other resources also that can help you to understand and know about that. So this is an article that go over what is a time complexity and how to calculate it. And also, this also is a resource that you can use when you have a function that is using AI to look at the function and calculate the time complexity and also give you an explanation why it is that time complexity. So, what are the common data structure and algorithm? In data structure, we have for data structure, the common data structure you can encounter in a technical interview is arrays, stack, queue, set, map, linked list, tree, graph. There are more data structure, but those are the most one that you're gonna encounter. You're gonna encounter one or the other. So, and from arrays, there's a data type that you will, as I talked about yesterday, there's a data type that we also encounter that's almost work like arrays is string. So let me put it on this chart. So, string. So in string, that's why you see in the algorithm the string manipulation. So and that's something that you do a lot also in web development is how to take a text and do some change in it, searching it or do different changes. So that is the data structure. And one thing I will say about data structure for each of them that will be really important is for each data structure, it's good to learn how to access element in it. So if you have an array, if I need an element in that array, how can I access it? For each data structure, it's good to learn how to check if there's an element in this data structure, if it exists. How to go to that data structure. They might use different term for arrays. They might use iterate them, and for something like tree or graph, they might use traverse. But both word is saying that if you have to go from the start to the end of that data structure and pass through everything, every element, how to do it. How to add or insert and remove element in that data structure. So those are different operations that I'm talking about that is important to know for each data structure. How to add and remove element in that data structure. How to sort or reorder the element if it's possible. Because the reason I say if it's possible is because there's data structure like the set, like the map, they don't have order. So you cannot reorder them. So So that's why, like, when something like arrays that have a specific order of all the element is, this one you can sort it and reorder it. So it's important to learn about those operations and also understand. I think the most important thing in all of them is understand when to use them, when it's best to use each of them. When it's best to use each of them and know what the time and space complexity for each of those operations. Because, for example, it is better to use set when you check in if something exists. If Is it better? So, for example, if I'm checking for duplicate, and it doesn't matter, I'm just checking if there's something that's repeated or there's duplicate in our list of element. For that one, it is or if I'm checking if something exists. So there's those two cases are I'm using those two cases are different, but they use the same pattern and same solution in terms of which data structure that's better. So if I'm checking something exists or if I'm checking that something have duplicate or multiple element in it that are the same, it is better to use set than to use an array. The reason for that is because in using a set, I can just access the element directly by just using the element value, and it's gonna go directly to it. So that way, I don't have it's just a O of one operation. It's faster and easier. Using a set, the set automatically remove all of the duplicate. So if I just put the list in a set and I just uh, compare the length, I already know if there's a duplicate or not. So using the set make it better and more efficient and faster for that operation. Can it be done with hours? Yes, it can be done with hours, but when I'm doing with hours, if I don't know the index, and by index is the number for each position in the array. If I don't know the index of that element and I need to search the element based on the value, I need to go to every single element of that arrays to find it. So that take more time. And so because of that, that make the set a better solution, a more efficient data structure for those two scenarios that I talk about. So that's why it's important to understand the time complexity and space complexity for each operation. And that way, when you get to solving problems, you will see which data structure is better than the other for the scenario or for the use case that I'm doing. Algorithm. So there's different algorithm, and I won't go over everything, but I will mention as I explain. Algorithm is a step of instruction, set of instructions step by step of how to solve it. So there's sorting. Sorting is basically we are arranging the element in a data structure in a certain way. Searching, when you're looking for a specific value in a data structure, there's different type of searching. There's binary search, there's other type of searching. The same way there's different type of sorting, there's different algorithm for sorting. So that's why it's good to know about the time complexity and the space complexity. That way you can say, in this situation, this sorting algorithm is better than just the other sorting algorithm. So like there's, for example, there's for sorting, there's quick sort, there is insertion sort, and all of those are different way to do the same thing, and all of those have different time complexity and different space complexity. And when you know those, it's easier for you to say, okay, I will choose this algorithm because of that reason. So, and that's one thing that is important to be able to show, that when you're doing a code interview, that you know the trade-off. And by trade-off is like, this might be better for this reason, this might be better for this reason, and I will choose the other option because of that specific situation, use case, or specific reason. So for algorithm, for a beginner, there's sorting, there's searching, there's string manipulation. I think it goes higher level in terms like recursion to pointers, sliding windows. Those are also BFS and DFS is stand for best first search and depth first search. Those two are different way to go to and traverse a tree. There's greedy algorithm, there's dynamic programming. So there's more different algorithm that you can look for and see how they do it. And one thing about learning them is research them, look for them, look at the definition, look at the code, look at how they're doing it. Try to implement the code yourself and try to understand each line, each step, so you can know and practice doing it. So that way, when you get to the coding interview, you are thinking about which algorithm or which data structure to use, but once you know it, you're already good for the implementation. You're not gonna think about how to code it again. So how to prepare for the coding interview. Before that, is there any question? Okay. So if there's no other question, so how to prepare for a coding interview. So as I said, first you focus on one concept at a time. You don't need to don't try to do all of them at once. Focus on one concept at a time. Learn the concept, either if it's a data structure or if it's an algorithm, practice it. If you learn one concept, one sorting algorithm, practice, try to implement the code for it multiple times, solve the problem, and go to lead code and try to look for a problem that is using that concept and solve those problems. Every day or weekdays or specific day, set up 20 minutes to 1 hour. 20 minutes to 1 hour. You don't need to spend all multiple hours, right? 20 minutes to 1 hour to study and practice. And as I say, when you practice, speak. As you go into it, speak and uh, what you're thinking about, talk about what you're thinking about, talk about what. why you going doing it this way, and why you not choosing to do it the other way. I have a timer. So try to, when you are solving a coding interview, try to have a timer between 20 to 45 minutes. Depend on how big the company you are applying for or you preparing for the interview, take less time. So for example, Facebook or Google gonna expect you to be able to solve the problem in 20 minutes or less. So in a sense, when they have a 45 minutes interview, they expect to be able to finish two coding interview, two lead code problems. So the bigger the company, I will say in a way, the less time, the faster they expect you to be able to code or to solve the coding problem. So also, that's why I say between 20 and 45 minutes. If you're working on solving a problem and 20 minutes pass, you haven't find which way to solve it, is okay to take a break and look at the solution and try to understand the solution. You're not trying to memorize, you're not trying to know it by head, you're trying to know which algorithm that is used, understand it, and also try to see what is the pattern for those, because there's a lot of time the coding interview is not gonna give a exact lead code question, but it will be similar or it will have the same pattern. So understanding the pattern and why they're using certain algorithm certain way than the other. So that's why if you starting to solve a problem and you cannot do it in 20 minutes, look at the solution, try to understand it, and the next day or another time, go back to it and see if you can solve it yourself. Do mock interviews with a friend or family member of anyone that can give you feedback. This also can help you to with the explaining your thought, explaining what you think about. If you have a friend and a family member that doesn't know anything about code, but they can understand what you're explaining, you you're doing the best job. But it's better in terms of like if someone know, because they can give you most useful feedback, but seeing how they understand it tell you how good you are communicating. And the next point is anyone or any group that you know that any group of people or community that you know that is focused on preparing for coding interview, get to join those group. That's gonna help you also to be encouraged, to be motivated to also work on your coding on preparing for the coding interviews. And I will also give us some links uh about you can go to for preparing for coding interviews. So there's the roadmap. Let me open the browser and show it to you. So there's a neat code roadmap. So I like that one map because it goes step by step of what you can focus on first and go and go. And you can see arrays and hashing, then two pointers and stack, then binary search. Those are data structure and algorithm is good to know. And if you go in each of them, you will see there's a list of lead code problem it gives to practice. So, and he also have the guy for Code also have YouTube videos that explaining them. So that's the link for it. But I will say before that, depending on how you are, I will encourage to go and learn about data structure and algorithm. And there's a Geek for Geeks uh link for go into the data structure tutorial. so we can learn about it and then start to practice problems and apply it. So, and also if you want to, for the coding process and for how to go about solving problem, if you are willing to try something better, because I know someone that is working in an application is not officially published, but you can join the wait list and they're gonna send you code where you can go and actually use it. So you can use that to kind of like it's using an AI to go to the interview process, like the first step, understanding the problem, asking question, and then brainstorming the solution, and then actually write the code. So it go with you to that process and kind of like with that process and learning it. So, and also I will say, let me see before I go to like one or two example. So let me do the coding tips, and for the last 10 minutes, we will go over lead code and code signal and lead code, and also if there's any question. So when you go into the interview, a few tips that I have, and I think I mentioned some of it during my explanation when I was talking, is first take a moment to breathe and calm, because that's the first thing is anxiety and being stressed at first, because it is a high stake. A lot of time when we go into the coding interview, we're thinking about it as a high stake. So it's good to take a moment to breathe and stay calm and use the first 2 to 5 minutes to ask questions to clarify what is the problem and to make sure that you fully understand the problem. Because there's a few things, a lot of time you see the problem, you already think about a possible solution, and there was a keyword that you miss, and your solution that you're thinking about is totally different from what the problem is actually asking. So take the first 2 to 5 minutes, ask question to make sure that you understand the problem. Then brainstorm, talk with the interviewer about possible solution that you're thinking about. And also while you're talking about that, make sure to mention about why this solution might be better than another solution, those different element trade-off. Considering if the interviewer doing while you brainstorming or while you coding, ask you a question or give you a suggestion. Recognize that, acknowledge that, and consider if the interviewer is actually giving you a better approach. And if you think the approach is better, use it. If you think the approach is not better than what you're doing, recognize it and tell the interviewer why you think your approach is better than what is suggesting. And once you agree on a solution, that's when you start to code. And even when you're coding, still talking and explaining what you're doing. Don't just code in silence, still talking and explaining what you're doing. Talk to the code, test it. When I mean by test is each every time you tap each line or every time you go to the line as you do as the you want in the code and see if what you're thinking that the code is doing is actually doing it. Because there's different type. There might be a typo. There might be something that you forget to put, and you think everything is working logically. It makes sense, but you not realize that, oh, actually you did forget something. So that's why it is good to go to the code and test if everything is working properly. And then at the end, you can discuss about time and space complexity and thinking about if it wasn't the optimal solution, thinking about how you can make the solution better. Also, one thing I didn't add to the PowerPoint that is important, and that's important for all interviews, always bring questions. Always have questions prepared to ask when it comes to time and the interviewer asks, do you have any question for me? always have question because it's also a time for you to learn about the company, to learn about how they work and all of that. So you can analyze in your part if the company is also a fit for you. Okay, so I will go with over code signal. So I asked everyone to sign up for Cosino. The reason I asked for Cosino, everyone to sign up for Cosino is not that I will use it. I'm gonna use LeetCode to run into some, go into solving some problems. But the reason I asked for Cosino is like if I go to the for individual. So right now I have an account that I'm working on going to a path, certain path, it might go to that directly. But if I go to those paths, you cannot see that there is uh there is different path that it have. It does have specific one for interviews. See all path and interview prep. So there's level for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And there is interview prep for each language, multiple language. I don't know if it have for all of the language. It have for Python, it have for Java, it also have for C++, it's have for JavaScript. So let me choose it for JavaScript, for example. So for example, if I choose this one, you can see they have different courses for each of them. And when you see the details, is go to what it cover and everything. And those, and I did one to that, and those kind of like it go and doing the explaining the concept and code make you code a few example. It's not like big example, it's simple example, but make you code a few example that by the time you finish with a specific unit, that you have enough practice to be almost second nature. So, oh, I know how to do it. For example, I last year I used code signal and go to the this one I think go to the fundamental one, and since then it's so easy for me to work with map and set because it while I was going to the unit and I had to understand map to understand set and to practice it, and that become like anytime that I'm working in a problem that required map and set, oh, I know how to use it or to work with it because I've been doing it so much. So that give you this part, and that's why I kind of like give you like tell you to create an account. So the thing about Coxino and is limit you if you're using the free version, it limit you how much time you can code. And the thing that it give you five coding as 5 time that you can code every day. So basically, if you go into a learning path, you start, it give you the explanation, you read the concept, and then it give you exercise. You can do 5 exercise that day, and you come back tomorrow for another 5. So that's kind of I would say repetition that you like take over time. But if you want to go for like do more than 5, that's when you go for payment. But I think the 5 every day kind of a good one to kind of like have something to practice a little every day and keep consistent. And that if it's free, that is good. So for the leak code, that's where there's a list of problems that you're gonna solve. So before I go to the leak code, I gonna give a reminder about the mentorship opportunity. If you are interested, let me know, or if you have want to talk more about how the opportunity gonna help, let me know either via email or use the link for the calendar to set up a time with me. So I will send the link again in the chat. So I'm doing that now before I do one or two lead code problem for about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so can you for the didn't receive the second day recording? Can do you see memo? I'm not don't know about memo. For the didn't receive the second day recording, I did send an email at 6 p.m. With day to recap. Check your inbox or check your inbox or spam folder. If you don't find it, send me an email and let me know. Because I think because I sent the email at 6 p.m., it was taking more time to for the video to find the video. Because it's 2 hours, it took longer. Okay, let me check Memo. So while I'm doing okay, yeah, good Coxino look good. I do like that. It take time to explain the concepts and okay, got it. I do like it take time to explain the concept and give you exercise to practice afterward. Oh, Mimo is to learn to code in Python and JavaScript. Okay, so it looks like more focus on coding. So I'm not don't know that much, but I won't say more to it. But I will say, because those are I also have learning path to learn specific language, and it do have section for coding interviews for each of them. Okay. Okay, I've been in it after time. Okay. So let's it's 12. So I will go over about two lead code. If you can I'd say it's okay to job and we keep recording about 5 to 10 minutes. But if you can stay and participate, you are welcome, and I would like that where you go over how solve like a specific lead code question. So let's start with let me see if I'm gonna go with this one first. Okay, let's start with this one, content duplicate. I will ask anyone if there's a from what you see right now in the lead code, what what are a few questions that you will have if you were in a coding interviews and they give you this? They give you the content duplicate. What will be a few questions that you have? Let me know in the chat. Because one of the thing is it sorted? That's a good question. Is it sorted? So for this one is no. That's a good question. And one of the way to find question to ask is look at the problem and think about, is there anything that I'm making an assumption and I don't really know? So if you from that one, okay, given an array of numbers, which return true if any values appear at least twice in the array, and return false if every element is distinct. So from that, you thinking, okay, it is simple, and I'm assuming that, okay, I understand it, and there's no question there. So the first question is it sorted? You won't know about if it's sorted or not. And depending on if it's sorted, there might be different way to go about it. As the first question. Another question you can ask is about how you gonna get the integer arrays. Is it gonna be given to me, or am I gonna be the one that implementing the way I'm receiving it? Which a lot of the time for most coding interviews, you're not the one that implementing it, but sometimes it happen. And so, and also try to make it, put it in your own word to see if you really understand it. So if I'm putting this in my own word, I will say, uh, they're gonna give me a list of numbers, and I'm gonna see if there's any numbers that is showing more than 2 times. That's showing me understanding of it. So now that when I understand and I ask question, I can start to talk about solution. So let's say, oh, it's not sorted. That's mean it's gonna be, do I decide to sort it first? So it can be easier for me to count, go one by one, uh, in each element and see, okay, if I find this number in that index, or if I find this number and I don't find it again, the next time it is unique, or anytime that I go into it and I find the same number twice, okay, I can return. So in that way, sorting will help because you can see all of the numbers, the same numbers together. And this is one solution. This is one solution of it. It's like I sorted and I sorted and I go to each array or to each element in that array and see if there's an element that is more than one, I return true. This for when we're thinking about the time and space complexity, that's where it might be where you can think about, okay, that might not be a better solution. Why? The sorting, by default, I think the fastest one take about O of n log n. So let me type it in the chat so you can see O of n log n. So that's the fastest sorting, and usually that's just when you're using the language sorting. And going to the array if O is O of n. So that's mean when you're taking the worst case, it's gonna be O of n log n. That's the big O notation. Now, is there a better solution than that? So that's where you start to like thinking about, okay, this is one solution. I can do it that way. Is there another solution? So as I mentioned during before, when thinking about multiple duplicate, one of the data structure, that's where you go about data structure. One of the data structure I can use that is easier and faster to check, to access is set. So let's say I'm kind of like thinking about the set. So that's mean if I'm working with a set, automatically as soon as I create a set, everything is unique. There's no duplicate. So that's mean when there's no duplicate, I can compare the amount of element in the set with the amount of element in the array that are given to me, if they are not the same, that's gonna tell me, oh, there's a duplicate. So is another solution is another solution that is more optimal in terms of time complexity, is not more optimal in terms of space complexity, because for the first solution, I'm not creating any new array or anything. I'm just going to the array, sorting it, and going to the check. But in my solution, I'm creating a new set, which for the space complexity is O of n. But for the time complexity, it's faster. And depend on the situation and what you're working, uh, what you're solving and what you're working with, the we might need to prioritize either the time complexity or the space complexity. In this case, I choose to prioritize the time complexity because I want to be done faster. So if I'm working and I decide, okay, this is the solution I'm going to do, and we agree on coding it. So I can start with the code and I can say, okay, I'm gonna create a set. So let me call it unique element, and it's like new set, and I pass the norms to it. So what this gonna do is gonna take the array that is given, which is the norms, and create a set from it. So now I have a set, so I can to check if is a true or not, I can just return that the uh unique element length, is it length or size, is equal, and let me start with that, equal with nums that length. Let's run it and see. Now I have wrong answer. Why I do have wrong answer? Why is it that it's returning uh true when it's supposed to return false? Me try to have, let's say, size. There's an error. So this is not the way of it. And so it's still wrong answer. Yeah. So it looks like the the set is using size to see what is the length, the number of element. So this supposed to be false, but it's what is happening? Anyone have a suggestion on why? So what is happening right here is I'm checking for duplicate. And my way of thinking, my way of going right now is working, but it's not checking for duplicate, it's checking for if they have the same number of elements. So if they don't have duplicate, when the function is looking for if they have duplicate. So that's where it go about solving for the problem and not doing something else. So now that means I have to check if they are not equal because I'm checking for duplicate. Now if I run it and everything is working fine, let me see if the length will give the same thing. I don't think the length is for the size. No, so yeah, for set you have to be size. So no, what is the number of element? and the set. So now this is a simpler way where this one is might be is O of n because it might take O of n time to create a set and to it might be O of one. So but I want to go with the worst case. It might be O of n as worst case. And this one is just checking two values that are equal, and that's O of one. So O of n in that case is better than O of n log n. So that's why this solution is a more optimal solution than the going to sorting it and going to each input and see if there's something that's repeated. Is there any question? And is it clear that when you're doing the interview and going to the step and how you can go about it and the way I did that exercise? Let me know. And I think that's I won't have time to go over other questions, but other lead code question. But I think I will go over lead code. Lead code, I have a lot of question, and you can see here there's different topics. So if you want to practice for a specific topic, like an array, you can choose those topic, and you will see a list of question that is done it and the difficulty for it. And you can go anytime you're learning a new concept, you practice how to implement that concept and look for a particular lead code problem for that concept and practice it. Practice it as many times as you can. And if you want to be consistent, set up 20 minutes to 1 hour every day to study and practice lead code. You don't have to spend entire 2 to 3 to 4 hours one day and not do anything another day. It's better to have smaller amount of time consistently than have huge amount of time and not being consistent. So that's it for today. Thank you for everyone that participate and come. And we talk about the coding interview today, and tomorrow we will talk about uh how to position yourself in terms of like a resume, LinkedIn, you're creating your profile and having a system. So I did create a Notion system that I will talk about also that will help to get the information about your skills, your what you can bring, what your value of that, and all of that. So we don't have to sign up to anything for tomorrow. So just show up and be ready to uh, talk about how you should present yourself when you're looking for a job. And I might also talk about networking and different things, those different topics. So thank you for everyone that came, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. So most common methods, I will say a lot of time there's a lot of solution that is using map. There's a lot of problem that you can solve using map, but I won't say that it is almost the uh optimal solution, but there's a lot of problem you can solve using maps. I would say that.